Here are 6 players that RotoWire believes will regress in 2025 fantasy football. We start out with Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix had a great second half of the season for the Broncos. Also on the season, Nix ran for 434 yards and 4 touchdowns. But in the second half of the season, Nix was really piling up the fantasy points. So why the problem in 2025? Well, Bo Nix was counted on because the rushing attack for Denver had no teeth last year. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, not getting it done. Also, the defense was good, but not necessarily great every week. Well, this year, things are going to be different. First of all, that offensive line that's outstanding will be blocking for J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. Also, that defense should take a step forward. Big moves in free agency. Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker, Talanoa Hufanga, the safety, first-round draft pick, cornerback Jahdae Barron. This defense could be close to elite. And in those scenarios, great defense, run the ball, Bo Nix is unlikely to be counted on heavily as a passer. And those 430 rushing yards, he may not have to bail himself out because he has running backs. That's why I'm down on Bo Nix. Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, never want to wish an ill season on Mike Evans. One of the great things about the NFL is Mike Evans, who had his 11th straight 1,000-yard season, only player ever to do that. Also scored 11 touchdowns last year. But here's the situation with Mike Evans. I expected Chris Godwin will be healthy and good to go in week 1. And if you remember back to last year, and I know the coach is different this year, but Baker Mayfield established a lot of chemistry. Before the Chris Godwin injury, Mike Evans was averaging 3.7 receptions and 48 yards per game. Well, after the Chris Godwin injury, those 3.7 receptions became 7 per game. Those 48 yards per game became 95 yards per game. So the problem is Chris Godwin is going to suck up a lot of targets. And that's going to come at the expense of Mike Evans. And I didn't even mention Emeka Egbuka getting into the mix. So I think Mike Evans, although a Hall of Fame player, still a great player, I just remember last year, and I think that same situation is brewing in 2025. If you're enjoying this breakdown, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It helps us keep the fantasy advice coming. And if you want even more RotoWire tools, rankings, and insight, we got a 15% discount just for our YouTube viewers. You head to rotowire.com, you choose your subscription, and you use the code YouTube15 at checkout. All right, next player that we are expecting to regress this year, Ladd McConkey, Los Angeles Chargers. The last time we saw Ladd McConkey, he was tearing it up in the second half of the season and in the NFL playoffs. Now, remember last year, in the first 9 games of the year, McConkey was averaging 6 targets, which was fine. In the first 10 weeks, McConkey had 2 games over 52 yards. And then 6 of the last 7 games, 83 yards. Oh, my goodness. The targets were coming. The big plays were coming. McConkey was getting it done, even scoring some touchdowns. So why am I down on McConkey? Well, McConkey did a lot of his damage once J.K. Dobbins was injured, missed about a month, and then even upon Dobbins' return, the running game wasn't doing what it needed to do at that point. And so Justin Herbert had to take the offense over, which was great for McConkey. Well, what's going to happen this year? Omarion Hampton drafted in the first round. Najee Harris signed to a $9 million deal in free agency for 1 year. The team tried to address the interior offensive line. We know offensive coordinator Greg Roman never met a run play he didn't like. So the defense coached really well. The talent might not be great, but they're going to get enough out of that defense to be competitive. They're going to try to slow the game down by running. What does that mean? I think we're back to that 6 target a game Ladd McConkey we saw in the first half of the season. And if that's the case, drafting him at wide receiver 11, that's not going to work. All right, next player due to regress, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. Now, in some ways, you'll laugh at this. He actually regressed last year. Well, no, he didn't. He blew up fantasy football. James Cook in 2023 had 1,567 scrimmage yards. He fell 300 yards last year. However, his touchdowns, 18 touchdowns for James Cook in 2024. But remember, in the first 33 games of James Cook's career, he had only scored 7 times. It was a massive outlier season for rushing touchdowns. Take James Cook and Josh Allen's rushing touchdowns, and he had 30 of them. The odds of getting 30 rushing touchdowns by the team again, Yeah, probably not so much. And Josh Allen is certainly going to get his share at the goal line. The other problem for James Cook was his workload. In the first 9 games, 54 or more percent of the snaps, 7 times. That was good, really good. After week 10, usually Cook was in the 36 to 46% of the snap share range, and that was not good. While we saw a little more Ray Davis, a little more Ty Johnson, and all that said, James Cook, snaps are kind of low, touchdown regression. We already saw the yardage fall down. So yeah, see serious regression coming here for James Cook. Finally, this one's going to be a little upsetting to some. I think Jayden Daniels is going to regress. What a magical rookie season the young man had, though. 891 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. Went over 50 rushing yards 8 times. But that's the beginning of the problem. He's 210 pounds. Very slight man who does welcome contact. And eventually, these big NFL defenders are going to get him. Daniels got by last year. He had hurt an abdominal and only missed the end of one game against Carolina, came back the following week. And so it worked out that year. But we are really tempting fate that a slight quarterback like this is going to keep going at it. But other underlying issues are this. And I know Washington addressed the offensive line and they brought in Deebo Samuel. They did all the right things. But Jayden Daniels, remember the first time he played Philadelphia, he was slowed down significantly. Now, the second game against Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts got injured. The game became a crazy shootout, and Daniels did great. But in the NFL playoffs, the Eagles played him again. Jayden Daniels struggled. And if you go even to the Pittsburgh game, Jayden Daniels had issues there. And Washington's schedule significantly gains in difficulty this year. Daniels is going to be a very good player for a long time, hopefully. But again, I think these factors point to maybe not the quarterback 3 we're drafting him as. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I think that's a situation you're probably looking at maybe some missed time and definitely some regression.